Hello tout le monde, hello and welcome to my channel. This is Leo and I do a channel about GM prep, specifically for the game Symbaroum. And those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I've been doing less in recent days, because in recent years even, because I had a lot of work, professional stuff, taking a lot of my time. Now I want to do a bit more. But the only way that I can do it will be by doing like uncut live streaming type videos like this one. And in this one I want to cover a lot of ground. So what I will do in this video is recap what I did with my group for the mega campaign, the Throne of Thorns, that we all are running, or most of us are running for Symbaroum. And I'll tell you how I mixed around the adventures very summarily. And then I will show you what I use for my prep nowadays. And it's changed quite a lot. It's not yet up to speed, but I wanted to just share it with you right away. I've had some requests also about the Foundry's modules that I use. I might go over that quickly, but first things first, we need to take a little drink. This is a nice evening in Montreal. I hope you all are very comfortable at home as well, maybe with a little drink as well. And let's talk Symbaroum once again. So cheers to all. Okay, I'm using OBS to do this video, so I'll be switching live between stuff. And you'll be hearing my mouse and my keyboard a bit. I'm sorry about that. Other thing to know is that I'm not, this is not my mother tongue, so I speak a bit more slowly in English, so maybe you can speed this up at 1.25 or 1.5 if for the English speakers out there. You might be more comfortable listening at that speed. And so yeah, let's jump in. Let's go to this screen here, and so this is my Foundry. I'm using, I don't know which version, and I'm no techie. I'm not. Actually, to be frank, I'll step back. I just want to say that in the last months, I told my group that I wanted to play more in person, because we were playing quite a lot online because it's easy. But for the GM, at least for me, I find it more stressful. More prep, very mind intensive when you GM, because you're clicking all over the place and you're doing all this UI stuff as you're GMing and role-playing characters and thinking about the story and everything. So I don't particularly like that. I think this is supposed to be a game. I'm supposed to have fun. I'm supposed to be, relaxing with my friends. And I found that oftentimes my head was burning at the end of the session because of all this clicking around. So we've started to meet more. We do have 2 people that are too far to come, so we still have like a whole setup for them. So they're there virtually, but we use I printed out these little papers here. I have all my I have some of my notes that I use the Remarkable for. So my session notes I note in there, and then I can do some little recaps in there too. So this is one of my tools that I use. I've got of course the typical and very useful list of names. So like this. So you can see that I've got some names and I've got little descriptions of characters, and I do the same thing for all the different species. I find this is one of the best tools that you can use, that you can have. Like I can, you're meeting someone and suddenly this guy is called Ed Magast. He's long-faced and he's a mute. So of course being a mute might be optional, but it's just tons of ideas. Young, bright and curly, sidekick with rosy cheeks, long blonde hair and wary, salesman with missing teeth, you know, and these things you can use in Foundry. There's one, I don't know if it's in the standard. Let's go back. You see this here? You have some a name generator, so I can produce some Ambrian names, and then they appear in the chat. So I've got some feminine names that appear right there. So it's easy like that. You just click on this. You can go like this, choose what you need. So what I do is I just create, you know, I take a few lists like that, I put them in my Excel file, and then I dream up some little details about these characters. And anyways, I might change them on the fly afterwards, because, you know, if it's not exactly what I need, it's just that since I have something to bounce off of, it's really easy and fast to create stock NPCs on the fly. So that's some things that I use. If we go in the modules, let's go in the, I'm so bad at this. Let's go see what I have. Okay, so this is the module list. I don't know if I can, okay, I can't. Well, so always HP, super useful. It's this little thing here that you activate over here. Okay, so that's, you can just add hit points or toughness points. You can just, if I write like 5 and then I do this, it'll delete 5 points from an NPC that I've selected. So you could, what I'm telling my players now is that I want them to just roll real dice at home, tell me the result, roll your damage, you know, let's do the math like we did, and I'll just adjust the hit points on the fly using that tool. You can kill a character, you can resuscitate a character instantly. So it's just a really quick way to modify the toughness of the NPCs and even PCs. Dice So Nice is, I think everybody uses that. It's this little tray here, so you can add some dice and then you can roll. You can go like this, and then the dice appear, and you have your result. Okay. I've got, no, that's the dice tray. So Dice So Nice is just, I think, the 3D dice that appear, and dice tray is this thing at the bottom. LibWrapper, no idea what this is. I don't know why I have this. Lights HUD, that's the one I use for. There was one person that commented on my YouTube video and wanted to know what I used. Do I have? Let's just drop in one of the PCs here. Okay, let's go with let's say Mirizin. Okay, so this is a barbarian character. Okay, he's super small. Well, that's not good. Okay, let's just close this. What's going on with this guy? Let's zoom in like this. And why can't I see the HUD? Maybe it's a possibility that my computer is not acting normal because I'm doing all sorts of stuff at the same time. Let's try this one. No HUD there. Okay, let's go to a map. Let's go to here, Warehouse Outpost, and okay, we've got our characters here. That's great. When you do a video, things like that happen. Ah, there it is. So you've got the HUD. Let's zoom in. Come on. Come on, computer. You can do it. Okay, sorry about the clicks, guys. And gals, and gals. I'm not forgetting you, girls. Oh, man. I had it you saw it. That's crazy. Yeah, so my computer is not acting normal. Sorry about that. So you had, with that module, you can have some 3 settings basically. So you can have a torch, you can have a super big light, and you can have some other thing, and choose in the HUD. You can choose which light you want to turn on real quick. So that's great. Okay, some music. What's left? Pop out, so people can pop out their windows. Simple calendar. I don't use it intensively, but it's there. It's here, I believe. And you click on simple calendar, and there you have a calendar for Symbaroum. So you have the Symbaroum names and everything, and you can add notes to each date, and they'll appear in your journal in this here. I think, yeah, they appear here. So you've got the moon phases, which is nice, and all sorts of stuff. But I don't use it that much. But it's a good tool. It's really useful. The rest are just the modules. Some more music, torch that I don't really use anymore. So torch is the same thing as the other one. It's used to have just a torch in your HUD, so you can just light a torch or take it down. I prefer the one with the 3 options, because you could have, for example, one setting for a hooded lantern, one setting for a torch, and one setting for magical light, I mean. So yeah, that's another one. And that's it. You see, I've tried all sorts of stuff that I don't use. So I'm really not that much of a cliquey kind of guy. Okay, so this is our wonderful Foundry, and I gave a map to the players. So it's a map of our story up to now. So I can use it maybe to talk about what I did with the adventures. And just before I do that, I think I'll show you the PCs quickly. I know a lot of people know them already, but we've got here in the middle Bodedgada. Bodedgada is a goblin. He grew up at the convent school in Indaros. He was stuffed with the Prios knowledge. And basically, he's a self-taught mystic of Prios. So he believes he's a priest, but he has never had the formal, he doesn't have theurgy, for example. He's just making his own theurgy. But he does have Prios powers, and he's always screaming the name of Prios, and he's doing a very freestyle goblin interpretation of what is a good Prios worshipper. We've got Daemons le Chat. That's a new character. He's a mage of the Ordo Magica that goes after sorcerers and bad mages. So he's sort of a spy assassin kind of mage. HoDG, Ferlas, those Daemons, HoDG, and Wild are all the same player. So the characters aren't there at the same time. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. So right now Daemons is in the team. HoDG Ferlas is a blacksmith, wants to become an artifact crafter. He has his shop in Thistlehold, and he's a lore master, and he basically pretty much stays there. We've got the Flaming Servants here. Jomilo doesn't exist. The Père Noël doesn't exist. Lodemé Valgardia is our Templar. She's a Templar, young girl, super fiery. Well, she's actually very calm as in her personality, but she has bloodthirst, and so she's very dangerous against the enemies. But she's the group tank. She has now the command of a detachment of Templars. Her dad is the commander of a temple that is right here on the map. If I can ping it. Come on. Why? I don't know why it doesn't ping. So right here. Oh, you can't see my mouse. That's stupid. Okay. That's great. Wonderful. So I just put it just right over here in the Prios domain, where this little road, orange road, crosses the frontier between Cassandrian and Prios domain. There's a forest there on another map, and I put the chapter, let's say the main temple of this Ophelia, of the Templars of Ophelia are there. Lodemé is the daughter of the commander of that temple, and he sent her to Thistlehold to start a new chapter in Thistlehold. So she's now the commander of the Thistlehold chapter of the Templars. So she has like something like 8 Templars under her. There's Melian, under Le Deme in the list. Changeling, Barbarian, was raised by the Bayags and then exiled when she became a changeling. Under that is Micariol Valgardia. He is a refugee from Alberetar. He was raised by a master, Cargaston, that I made up. He's a Valgardia, and the Valgardia are from a barony that was very near a barony that the characters can visit in one of the adventures of the adventure packs. So I just decided to, create this proximity so it could become interesting if ever we play that adventure. So Le Deme Valgardia and Micariol Valgardia are cousins. Micariol was an orphan. It was a Cargaston, an Ordo Magica mage, that took care of him, and they were studying the Grey Death. And Master Cargaston died of old age, and so Micariol was sent to Vernam, to Master Vernam in Thistlehold. That was a friend of Cargaston, so Vernam could take care of him. So that's how this whole saga started for my group, with Micariol coming from Alberetar into Ambria. Mirizin of Clan Eonai, Clan Enoai, if you remember, is one of the northern clans. They are they're troll tamers. They are worshippers of Oroke, the spider goddess. So that will become interesting later on in the story. So that's where he comes from. But he's in exile too. He basically, he has a birthmark in his back, and he was considered touched by the other kids in the clan, and so he was not considered like a normal kid. And so because he was a bit of a reject, the witch took him and taught him not actual witch stuff, but some knowledge. And then the witch got killed, or no, maybe she didn't. I don't remember exactly, but at some point when they get older, the Inoi get bitten by small spiders to live this kind of initiation that brings them into the adult world. And he did that, and he became crazy, and he sort of fled in the forest and fell into a hole and landed in the underworld. And he was taken over by a goblin tribe that was living there in the underworld. And this goblin tribe did some rune tattoos. They had their own traditions with rune tattoos. So he has rune tattoos, but that he learned, that he got from the goblins. And afterwards, he left the goblins and he fled south, and he became some kind of a guide, basic, the typical barbarian guide. And the last of the characters is Wild. So Wild is an ogre. Similar story as Mirizin. He woke up in the forest. He was lost. An old witch took him. He lived his youth as an ogre with this witch. This witch died. And so he was, like a youngster, a youngster. And he tried to get out of the woods, and Edogai Ferlas, the tinkerer, took him under his protection, and so Wild became an apprentice to a Norda Magica mage. So Wild is a Norda Magica mage, but an ogre, and that causes some stress in Thistlehold. So that's the group. That's how we started. Melian and Le Deme weren't there at the very beginning. So I'll just go very quickly over the story because I don't want to waste your time, nor mine. So let's just say that since I don't have my pointer, I need to zoom in, and you'll have to have keen eyes to see what I'm talking about. But what I did is we started this campaign with the Promised Land. So the Promised Land, you know all about it, right? I think I have it somewhere here. There you go. So this is the introductory module. It's in the core book, and it's the first part of a trilogy called The Copper Crown that we played completely. And so we started with that adventure. And the only thing I did with that adventure that I modified is that I introduced the characters the black cloaks that had Mother Elsena. Yeah, just so you know, if you are a player of Symbaroum, just stop watching this stream, this video right now, because it's just full jam-packed of spoilers. So yeah, so I wanted to lead the Promised Land into Howling of the Damned Gods, which is an adventure, I think in Adventure Pack 3. And so I needed to have the Black Cloaks, the undercover Black Cloaks that were bringing Elsena to justice. They were part of this caravan of the Promised Land. And I'm talking, of course, as if you know these adventures, because I won't start recapping what their stories are about. If you want to know, you just go to the core rule books and open it up. So we played the Promised Land. They saw Belun and Ludo be completely disintegrated in the water of the dusk. That is there's a fountain near the monastery of the Twilight Friars, where Corinthia sort of blessed the land, and this fountain became sacred. And now I said that there was a chapel there, and the water would become magical and would become water of the dusk, but only at dawn, actually, water of the dawn. So at very precise moment when the sun hits this place, the water becomes magical. And they put the two tainted guides in there, and they just burned up because they had too much corruption and they took too much damage while being purified. So that was the introduction to this new world, dangerous looking elves that demand that you either kill or give them or whatever with these two guys. And then you try to save these guys' lives by bringing them to this sacred fountain, and they burn in the water. And they burn to a crisp in the water. So that was a nice welcoming scene to this world. So then we did Howling of the Damned Gods that takes place in Priospas. That's where Le Demé Valgardia came in, because she was, what I did is that let's say the rebel Templars of Dead Prios, well, they were from the temple of Ophelia, where she comes from, and she spotted them fleeing out of the temple. So I just want to make this quick. So let's just say that they heard that the Black Cloaks were bringing Elsena to justice, and these hot-headed fanatics decided, okay, no, we'll just gallop out there and kill her outright, because she doesn't, she's the darkness, we need to kill her. And so when Le Demé, the PC, heard that, she followed them. It was a spur of the moment thing, and in the middle of the night, these three knights leave secretly. She spots them, she follows them right away. And so we did the whole adventure where they were trying to bring these knights to justice. They captured the knights. They saved Elsena. They magically transferred her out of this pickle. And then they took the river here, Veloma, and they went down. And I used that little adventure in Adventure Pack 1. It's the adventure on the boat. So we did that, but they had the Templars as prisoners with them. And they went all the way here. There's a city called Karnak. Had a little stop there, then went to the temple. So if you follow the yellow line, you just go up all the way into Prios domain, and there they stayed at the temple that I created. So we had some scenes with the father and everything. And then they moved up to Thistlehold, because that's where they were escorting Micariol. They brought Micariol to Vernam, and when they got in Thistlehold, I used the link with Vernam to, of course, play Mark of the Beast, the second episode of the Copper Crown. And after Mark of the Beast, they sort of became a bit notorious in Thistlehold. And I don't want to say anything wrong in the chronology. If I remember correctly, they got the clues about the Blooming Vale. So if you see from Thistlehold, the line goes into the forest to Traverse de Wad. So that's a gray. It's a crossing. It's a tavern on the river. I don't remember where I found it. Greywade's Crossing, I believe it's called in English. And so they went to this Blooming Vale because they heard from the novice Ranfalt. They heard that there was an Ordo Magica mage in trouble there, and so they went to save her. I wanted to do that because let's just show you something here. Let's hide this and show this one. So in Wrath of the Warden, as you know, maybe there is. Let me just take control here. There are some Game Master section. Yes, runes in Davokar. So if you look, page 58, Runes of Davokar, Blooming Vale, page 64. So let's go see that. Okay. So you see, this is a very nice adventure landscape from this book. And I decided to use it because I wanted my players to have a true Davokar expedition experience. And so I thought to myself, if I launch the Wrath of the Warden right away, it will be too sudden and too dramatically. I mean, they're just getting used to Thistlehold. They just saved Thistlehold from the bad guy of the Mark of the Beast, and now I'm gonna, put a hole in the town and have this whole apocalypse happen. I thought it was really too fast, so I decided, okay, let's go do this first. And so they did. They went to the Blooming Vale. We had great adventures there. I mapped out the tower. I have that in my notes in my little book there. So I just fleshed it out a bit, well, quite a bit, I would say, just to give a bit more density to that adventure. And then they did save the mage that was in trouble. They did not save the 2 Templars. They lived all sorts of adventures, and then they came back to Thistlehold. And that was the first real downtime where they could chill out somehow. And winter came, and then I was ready to start Wrath of the Warden. But the problem with Wrath of the Warden is that there's so much going on, and it's all over the place. There's if we let's go. I'll show you the map of the story as printed. Let me just check. There it is. Okay, so these pages here, the timelines. So if you go through this, you realize that there's so many sub-stories. You have to go get the tablets of the prophecy. You have to fight the Sellswords of the Sun. You have to whatever, so much stuff. And the actual suspense of the story is, of course, what Erlabert Ambriagos is doing. And that name was really cool because I linked that to the Blooming Vale in a fun way. That's why is he called Ambriagos? Because his real name is Haras, and Haras is the name of the baron of the barony that was traitor to Alberetar, and that was destroyed at the Battle of Haras. So it's a famous name, and it's a doomed or cursed family. And of course he changed his name, but why did he choose Ambriagos? Because he went to Ambriagos, and that's where he found his ritual. And at least in my version. And so I really try to always create links between the different elements to make things as organic as possible. And the other thing I did about Erlabert Haras is that I had Mikariol actually Erlabert knew Mikariol's family from the time they were all in Alberetar. He heard that, he knew their reputation. He knew they were refugees at the same time. So, because his father, who was the traitor, had sent his kids away from the barony, so for safekeeping. So he doesn't know how bad his father was. So anyhow, all this to say that when at some point in the Thistlehold part of the story, I had Erlabert come upon Micariol and want to meet him and have a chat and all of that. And so he was a friend basically before things got soured up. So what I decided to do to break Thistlehold Wrath of the Warden into manageable pieces, I decided to run the whole Sellswords of the Sword story first during the winter. I like to have, I thought it was a fun way to break the downtime. And, you know, fire and revolt in snow and snowstorms is cool. And so I did that. And the riots, the graffitis, all that stuff, I amped it up a bit. I got the characters involved because they had graffiti on their house, because of course the Sellswords of the Sun find that teaching magic to an ogre is a crime, and so we did that. It was a really fun part of the adventure as well. And after that, I linked it to. I started wanted to go further into Tomb of Dying Dreams. So I had the elves cause a permanent snowstorm on Thistlehold and ask the players to give them back the crown, because during Mark of the Beast they found the crown of the king, and they neutralized it and put it in a circle to try to neutralize it at the tower, at the Orde Magica tower. And so the elves told them, you know, you need to give this back to us or we will come in and take it in a way or another, and it will be bloody. So they actually gave the crown to the elves, and that was mixed with the whole Sellswords of the Sun stuff. And also I also had Baumello, the witch hunter from Mark of the Beast, that was still around. And of course he was thinking, okay, they're doing stuff with the elves, they're bad guys. And so there was a hue and cry against the players, and there was a super big fight with Cerex Atio, Kargoy Salamos, Baumello, tons of Sellswords of the Sun. You know, when the players went to give the crown to the elves in the woods, they followed them to ambush them and to end them there. And that was a really epic battle in the woods, really interesting. And after that was done, there was some legal shenanigans, and because it was terrible, you know, the violence, and also Cerex Atio died, Kargoy Salamos died, they're heroes of the town, so it was a big thing. So Baumello was exiled from the town, and Master Vernum was exiled from the town as well for consorting with elves. But all of that was a bit of a show, because Lassifar knew all the details of what really happened, and he just wanted to calm things down. And so Dolani was exiled, his henchmen were hung, that kind of stuff. Let's take a little sip here. So after that, I was ready to start the Wrath of the Warden, which I did. And Wrath of the Warden with the sinkhole, the tablets and in the prophecy, they did speak with the Templars, and there was a bit of that, but not that much. Most of it was really centered on the Erlabert plot and saving Eox, which they did. One important thing that I did that I think, I don't know if everybody would like to do something like that, but I really like, because at the end of this campaign, the throne itself is linked to the Yonder world through this weird node thing, like mystical link. And I really like that. I like that these nodes are there and that they can open links to other worlds, and the Yonder world in particular. And so I wanted to have a little foreshadowing right now of demon influence and demon contact, even though demons aren't at all a subject right now. They're not even on the radar of my players. My players do not know that there will be demons in the story. It's just not apparent. But what I did is that under Thistlehold there's this isle, the Crystal Isle, that is a node, super powerful node. And what I did is I had it be like a place of power since the times of Hurian Loapak and Naitkel Ambriagos. The Symbarian rulers of this area were fighting over this place because the node would permit them to do powerful magic without dying from corruption. And so on the crystals there's some Symbaric writings inscribed, and there's literally some really horrible magical rituals inscribed right there, like a codex that you can learn if you're there. And the other thing that I'd added is that the demon Sarufag, which is one of the big bad guys of the end of this campaign, he's whispering through this node to the people that come there, and he tries to lure them and to have them bind with the node, because once they bind with the node they get all this power, but he sort of gets more access to them to corrupt them. So that's the idea. So I had some of the players had these whisperings in their ear, but there was so much going around with the wraiths and the witch, the old witch, and they just fought transformed barbarians, and it was like infernal. So they didn't make too much of it, but I just like seeding stuff. So I seeded that, and this notion of the power nodes having these weird side effects that are totally freestyle for me, I will be using all along this campaign, because I find that the fact that some magic is not that there is magic in fantasy outside of the rules, that the rules for magic do not encompass all that is possible. I think it's super important to make that clear to the players, and to make that clear that what they see in the books is just the little part that the humans and the elves have somewhat controlled imperfectly. And that the idea of perfect magic, of arch magic, is a dream. It's like it's a goal. It's something that people would like to master. But the true power of the magic of this world is even beyond what we call arch magic, and that is described in the 6th book. So that's why I want to give them the hope that they will find more learning, more power that is less corrupting, because they don't want to corrupt the world. But there will always be so much more outside of their reach, and that has to be like a continuing factor in the campaign. So after they beat Wrath of the Warden, they went to the elves, they saved Eox, the elves were happy, they gave them some artifacts and tried to make them their friends, and they sent them off on this wild goose chase with let's go back to this one here. So they were near the Blooming Vale when they came out of the halls of tears, of whatever, the elven halls. When they came out of there to save Eox, the body of Eox was around the Blooming Vale, because that's where Erlabert killed it. And then they followed, if you follow the orange line, they went all the way up to the tomb of Hurian Loapak, and that is the module Tomb of Dying Dreams. And how did I get them there? Is they followed the creeping darkness, because in the Blooming Vale they went there first, and then they were aware that some people went after them, and those people that went after them were unleashed the darkness that was stuck in the underground of the tower of Naitkel and Ambriagos, and the creeping darkness sort of got freed there, and then beelined to the vile water that it could sense in the distance. So they followed that ominous trail of darkness and death. And so we played Tomb of Dying Dreams. And in Tomb of Dying Dreams, normally the creeping darkness is just this looming threat that you can't beat. But my characters are more experienced than what the adventure expects. You know, they have 100 points more than what the campaign recommends. So I have to make things a bit more difficult, or in this case, something that would be unbeatable becomes beatable. So I did modify that. I talked about it in another video that you could see what I did with that. But the idea is that when we were finishing this, I was thinking of the next step, and the next step was Karvosti, the Witch Hammer. And Karvosti, the Witch Hammer, it's very modular, because there's some parts on Karvosti, under Karvosti, and there's the 3 expeditions. And so I thought, I knew that the 3 expeditions would be a hard sell for my players. Like, why are we going at the other end of the forest to find a door? You know, will we really find something there? Is it worth it? Blah, blah, blah. So I knew that might become a problem. So what I did is that when they were at the tomb, of course they wanted to go see the Sun Temple, because Le Deme, you know, they heard all the stories about how the tablets were found. They talked to the old Templar near Thistlehold, so they heard about the fact that they fought a great darkness, and that many died, and Elisabetta Vera slayed the beast, and that's how they got the tablets, and this temple is wonderful, and blah blah blah. And so I did that. I knew that they were going there, so I thought, well, Faramorun is just north of that, so I need to already send them to Faramorun. So what I did is very simple. I just had the fact that Elmendra came through with her crew be known to the people. So I created the wharf, the Templars' wharf, which is on the river, and then one day up from the Templars' wharf, there's the actual temple. Let me just check here in this little tool. I have the campaign journal. Okay, so campaign journal is basically some cleaned up notes from stuff that I decided as we were playing. So after the game, I'll jot things down. It sort of gets spread over because I have some stuff there, some things in the computer and elsewhere, but eventually everything ends up in the computer. And I have another document called session prep, and I just want to show you like the basic prep that I did, which was very basic, because I don't have time to do these videos, and I don't have time to do prep either. So I'm really, I'm stuck, but still I want to play. So what I did is, I'll just hold this. Yeah, so these were the notes for, it's in French, sorry about that. So this is one page of notes for session 68. So at the top there it says that the forest is humid and cold because it's spring, and the summer that comes announces the awakening of terrible things. I don't know what. That's just mood. That's just mood that I can get inspiration from. In the temple, we can see traces of a cult to Oroke, and after that, adoration of more somber things, runes of Koroal, and of the Church of Haman. So those notes, that just means that this temple has symbols of spiders that the Prios people think are suns, because at the beginning, before Symbar, it was used by people that were worshippers of Oroke. But afterwards, the princes of Symbar converted this temple and did some demon worship. So I wanted to have just the idea that there's like little layers in this temple. So when I describe things on the walls and stuff, I have this idea that to convey to the players. Here in Faramorun, I just wrote that the troll, okay, I didn't use that. Yeah, I didn't really use this part. And then this was my map for the temple. Okay, so this is of course the Oroki symbol that could be a sun. There's the symbol of, this is the Prios symbol, and I just wanted to know that there was a temple, like this slab of a temple, and there's a dome, and this is an excavation. So this is ground level, this is underground, and these are just heaps because they when they got there it was flat and there was just the tip that was emerging, and that's how they got in the first time. And then they started digging with a super big crew of goblins and ogres, and there's like this very big construction site kind of a vibe, and they're bringing all the earth up, and so there's a hole in the dome because they pierced a hole to get in the first time. So all of these ideas are in my mind mostly, but this is the memo. Like this is this plus what I wrote on the previous page, that's what I had. That was my ammunition for this session. And yeah, that's it. So this is just a little map I made of, this is Oraangar's lab under Faramorun, with this is the magical door, and this secret vault at the end. And what else? I had yeah, so you can see that when I'm pressed for time, I'll just sit down, I'll write session, number of session, and I'll just write some very general ideas of what should be here where the players are going. And so if I have characters, like here, that was in a session later, I guess, when they had found the Sovereign's Oath fighters that are disguised as Bayags, I think. No, they were disguised as rangers, and they defiled a Bayag sacred ground, to make the Bayags think that the Ambrians were bastards. And so the players destroyed this Sovereign's Oath mission, and then they found the sacred place that was completely desecrated, and then they got nose to nose with actual Bayags that were pretty angry, and so this was like the monoliths and stuff that the sacred place, and here were the Bayags. So 12 Bayags of Makaba, which is the leader or the guardian or something, are hunting those that desecrated the monument. There's Marnia, she's a redhead hunter and an initiate. There's Meotar, a giant blonde guy with a mask helmet. Ovdo, with a scar and gray hair. Yehax, with tattoos in the face and bald. So just a few notes like that. So you can see that I just want to have a few descriptors, a list of names. Like the most important thing that I need is, what are the locations? What do they look like? What do they contain? Who are the characters? What do they look like? What do they know? What do they want? That's the core of what you need to run a game. And so you just need to have the minimum, and you just surf with that. Okay, so now just to finish this little recap of this mega campaign. You know, we're at session 76. Next one, I think, will be 77. So that's quite a long campaign already. So now, after Faramorun, well, they found the door. They befriended the troll. I had them. I put the Marsh of the Mother Marsh. It's a random encounter. I believe it's in. I think it's in Wrath of the Warden, when they go to the Hall of Tears of the Elves. There's a few random encounters. One of them is this hag of the marsh. I used her. Very interesting magical encounter where she could magically steal their weapons, and it's a bit of an Alwyn kind of character. You know, it's a character that you cannot contain with the rules. It's a very powerful creature. It's like Eox. It's a creature of the forest. Of course, there must be a way to vanquish her, but it's maybe not by force of arms. Anyhow, they sort of made a deal with her. She asked. They did a pact with her, and then they went to see Oraangar, and then she wanted the head of Oraangar, and they brought her Oraangar. So they did their part of the deal. They brought her the head, but attached to the body, and Oraangar gave her a very nice necklace, and they sort of made this alliance between Oraangar and the Mother of Marsh. And once that was done, so that was like something that could have gone horribly bad, but that they managed to really, by negotiation and being wise, they survived, and they made an ally. And Vild, the ogre mage, stayed to learn ogre magic, troll magic. So it's a very, very interesting turn of events. And from there, they went through the forest to Lake Greatwater. That's where, just before that, Lake Greatwater, they had the encounter with the Sovereign Oath, with the desecrated monuments. Then they went to Lake Greatwater, and they met some Bayags, and it was a bit of a cultural stop. And then they came to Karvosti. And so when they arrived in Karvosti, they already had done Faramorun, so it was a bit. So what they did is that they were still following Elmendra at that point, and they asked around to see if she was there. And she had like a good at least 10 days more in advance from them. So they were following her, but she was, it was more than a week that she'd passed. So when they arrived in Karvosti, actually she had just left. Like a few days ago, she had talked to Cruel Jaw, gave him the witch hammer, and left. But they didn't know that, so they were just looking around, and they were just basically discovering Karvosti, discovering the strange things happening with the witches. They tried to get an audience with the witches, because they know them from they know Eferneia and Gandarmon from the witch hammer, from the Thistlehold, the Wrath of the Warden, and so that was something that I didn't really know what to do with, because there's no guidance really. It just says that they're not available and that nobody can get in, but it doesn't say how this witch cave is defended. And I didn't want to have something. I didn't have to, like a patrol of Wrath guards that are there all the time, and I didn't want that, because first of all, they could have tried to, used unnoticeable to bypass the guards and stuff like that. So I wanted to be a dead end, but I wanted to be a dead end that's interesting. And Mirizin, the barbarian, and Milian, the changeling, it's like their turf, Karvosti, and so they just sat in what I did is that the hall that leads into the witch's cave, it's a bit like in Dune, like these underground things that the Fremen have. So there's a bit of that. So you get into this bare hall with 3 entrances that lead elsewhere, with just drapes over the entrance, the archways, and there's just this ominous feeling of being watched, of being there's like it's buzzing with energy. And so they tried to advance, and I had them make resolute -8 checks and take tons of I don't remember, some damage, and they got pushed back, or it was subtle but still very, very powerful. And I had them have some visions as well. And so they saw the Huldra at one of the higher windows. But they, first of all, they insisted. They said, the barbarian said, okay, I recognize that they don't want to see someone right now, but I'm going to just sit here and meditate until they come to get me. Like for hours he stayed there. And the changeling Melian was with him. And so they stayed there for a very long time. And that's when I said, okay, there was going to be some kind of mental telepathic message coming to them. But we wanted to make it even better. So I said, because he said, maybe I have 9 points of experience. Are we going to have, did we have one last session? I said, yes. He said, maybe I should buy Witch Sight Novice. And I said, you should, because this character, Mérizine, has had encounters with the spirit world, always guided by others, by witches, but still he lived these visions already. And so it was totally on his arc to develop some kind of witch sense. So he bought Witch Sight right away. And I gave him one hell of a vision, where basically I gave him, with these visions, the information that the spiders were invading the tunnels and that there was danger afoot. So he didn't know that if that was something to be or already done in the past or what it was. But yeah, it was sort of cryptic and interesting, and in this case, from a gameplay standpoint, when they decided that they wanted to meditate for 6 hours and wait for the witches to open up, of course I wanted to give them something, because it's their choice as players to insist, and dramatically it's more interesting if something comes of that. If it's just, okay, 6 hours later, nothing happened, that's really boring. So I needed to find something. I decided to use that because I thought it was the most atmospheric. If it had been other characters and it had been less appropriate, I could have had First Guard Farvan arrive with a patrol and ask them to leave and whatever. I would have thought of something, but this is what happened. And just to finish off on that, after that they they split up. They did a lot of asking around. They even found Amegar and Mankel. They asked them, they asked Mankel, if he knew where Elmendra was. They learned that Elmendra had left them more than a week ago, and that he didn't know where she was. And so things were sort of just all in place when the actual beginning of the official printed module was used, where the Cruel Jaw has his breakout in the Longhouse. There's the attack on the stronghold and all of that. That happened once the players had met everybody that they needed to meet. Aranitra, Pyromé, they had explored the whole plateau. And so when I kicked off the action, my players at that point, the motivation of the players is not clear, because some of them want to follow Elmendra for sure, because what she's looking for, and if she actually found it, is potentially super dangerous, because if the Ambrians go in the forest and find Symbar, it could cause all sorts of problems. Like the first problem being an Ambrian army entering the forest. But beyond that, if there are horrible things in Symbar that mustn't be awakened, well, the players in the group that are more aligned to the Iron Pact don't want to see that happen. And then there are other players, one in particular that is the more prudent, the more why the hell should we get mixed into that kind of guy. And he was thinking, well, if Symbar is like a hellish place, why are we following the person that wants to go there? Why are we just mixed up in this? And so I decided that Well, I didn't decide anything, but I just told them, okay, you see that there is some kind of a dilemma there. And as a metagame discussion, I told them, this discussion between your characters has to happen in the game. And it is possible that some characters will want to retire at this point, and that's okay. And the players should make a new character that will be invested in the pursuit of Emendra and eventually of either stopping others from finding Simba or finding Simba for other reasons, whatever. So yeah, there is this campaign has some railroads to it. Like it's super flexible in the sense that you can run this campaign with the players aligned with any of the factions and it will work. And of course you'll have to modify some things, but if they want to, be anti-magic, pro-barbarian maniacs and they align with the sovereign's oath, that's great. They can do all sorts of terrorist attacks. They can follow Emendra to make sure that the Ambrians never get the information to go to Simbar because it's the Blood Daughter that wants to go, and all of that. So you can see that every faction has a motivation to go to Simbar, and the only thing that you cannot remove is you need to want to go to Simbar. That's the point of the adventure. So I just got that across clearly on a metagaming level, because why do it otherwise? You don't want to force in story reasons. It just feels so bad for characters to be railroaded like that. I mean, the players will hate that. So you really need to say, okay, I will not write a completely alternative campaign that happens in the realm of the Order for you. This is the campaign I have. There's 6 books. We're going to go through these books. So you need to be on board. And there's no problem in my group. They're all very curious to know what's going on. And I stoke this curiosity by telling them, about the story of Simba, the story of the clans, about the story of Karvosti, the story of Ambria, the queen, the magic, the mysteries of arch magic, the legendary cities of Esberest and Ambal Seba and Simbar, and there's tons to learn. There's really fun stuff to uncover on each of these subjects. So it's a campaign of exploration of a setting, and that is part of the pleasure. So you need to have curious characters that want to learn, that want to know. It's really Indiana Jones, it belongs in a museum kind of stuff. You need to have these characters to really make this thing work. Or else you could have groups that are aligned on factions and do the really heavy political game. That could work as well. It's just that we had done that in our previous campaign, which was Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and it was all about politics and Game of Thrones style stuff. So I didn't want to do that again. I really wanted to go for the wonder, the dread, the magic, the feeling that you're really uncovering ancient stuff and that it feels real. And this setting is rich enough that I can give this depth. And that brings me to another point that I find important, is that you need, as a GM, to give the illusion of depth. This is still showmanship. This is storytelling. You will not write 1,500 years of history in detail to give the players the impression that they're uncovering secrets from the past. You just need to have waypoints, like important elements that give this idea of depth without the actual depth. Because as you play, as I recommend, is always to prep the next session and not further. Of course, you read the whole adventure first, and that's some work. There's some prep for the campaign itself, which can be more than an hour. But when once the general idea is set, then you have to prep just one game at a time, because that will let you adapt to what the players want and what they're looking for. And the same thing with the lore. If their interest is in some element of lore, like if my players were totally into troll singing and stuff, and all they wanted to know is what happened to the trolls and are there still some cities of trolls, and then I would write stuff for that. I would develop that, and I would use the adventure landscape where you go into a troll ruin. It's just, I don't want to create that beforehand. If I don't need it, I won't waste time creating it. I just need the general gist of what these realms are, you know. So you uncover as you go, and on the GM side, you create as you go. So in this case, let's just go back to our story. Now we're getting to where we're at right now. This is our situation in the game. Just let me change screens once again. Okay, so now this is our group. So what happened is that there was they intercepted the assassins. You know, they talked to Lothar Grendel, they talked to First Guard Farven, they know pretty much everything they need to know about Karvosti. And they found the dead Amegar, and they saw the Rangers throw Mankel over the cliff. And so they just, that session was a session where it's like, oh shit, we're changing gears. Like there's new players in there and they're deadly and they're ready to kill to get to Symbar, and we need to decide what we do and do it fast because they're moving. And they're really good at spying and collecting information. So they spied on Lothar Grendel talking to Marvello and giving orders. They spied on Marvello going back to Lindra in the pilgrim camp. And then the Rangers were sort of dispatching their next missions. And Lindra is going to Faramorun. And Marvello is going to get Barto and go to Yeferon Isle. And so they got up before dawn the next morning. They sort of dodged out of the Rangers that were following them. They avoided them. And they went to save Bartho at the Victorious Hawk before it was too late, because they knew that, okay, they're going to get to him, they're going to extract the information and probably kill him. And then what do we do? So they went there first. And let's open up that map again. And on Discord, we were just chatting the other day, and I had the idea to not use the Sovereign's Oath attack. I thought, no, I won't do that. I'll just have them, let me see, like this. I'll just have them go there, negotiate with Bartho, convince him somehow, and then leave for Yeferon with him. Because I knew that they wanted to start with the Isle, because the Isle, they already had some information about the Isle, and it was intriguing to them. I didn't want to use the Sovereign's Oath because they had this battle against the patrol in the woods, and they had the assassins try to kill Taraban. It's not the same thing, but it's like both times it's a raiding party doing some shit. And so I thought, gosh, like the next morning, another attack, and let's move out of this, you know, quickly. But this is the takeaway. When the actual session happens, they get here really quick, and then they're wondering, how do we get in there? How do we convince him? How do we find him? They knew what he looked like. And so they spread around who's hiding in the woods, who's going inside to try to get him from the inside, and blah, blah, blah. So that took a while. They got there, and what happened is that there was Lodemé and Déméon le Chat that were inside the Victorious Hawk, and that were doing all the negotiation to get to Bartho. And it was a bit complicated. It was fun, but you know, you have to talk to multiple NPCs. He's hiding. He doesn't want to be seen. Blah blah blah. So that takes a while. You know, it took, I don't know, probably 45 minutes of gameplay, maybe at least a half an hour of gameplay, at least, plus half hour getting there and setting up. So we were maybe an hour and a half into the session at that point, because you know, just saying hello and getting everything running takes a while too. So I had some players. Their characters are hiding in the woods, and they're, you know, they're ready because they know that Marvelo will appear at some point with his rangers, and they want to block him on the road, and so there's like a little setup there. But they're not doing anything, and I know that I don't want Marvelo to arrive right now because first, it would be a strange coincidence that he'd be so quick. Second, I just thought, okay, I will use this attack, but I'll make it different. Instead of a true attack, it will be just a few of those witches with a few guards, competent guards, guard warriors, that are just throwing incendiary bombs on the houses, and they don't even want to come in the Victorious Hawk. They just want to cause mayhem, and eventually have the guards see that they have ODAV chainmail and that they're ODAVs, like fake ODAVs. So that's what happened. I just used like some of the characters that were outside waiting for Marvelo were attacked by one of the witches that tried to kill one of them with a bomb, with acid bomb, because they still wanted to hurt, maim, and kill, and so this attack happened. The characters came back. There was all this battle going on. These tokens of the armor, the flaming armor, they're not actual flaming armors. They're just blobs of flame where the creature, the witches threw some fire on. The white lines and the yellow lines and all that, that's extra maps that I write, like that's the crossroads, and that's, you know, I just create other maps on the map using lines like that. And I find the writing tool of Foundry to be really bad. I would love to have something really, really simple where you just have like the pen and you click on it and you can draw. I mean, come on guys, let's make something simple. Keep all the options for the other people. But people like me, we just want something that works quick, you know. We don't want to have to click in settings, and pop-up windows are the enemy. Do not put pop-up windows, okay? Okay, so that's just a little mini rant. So they did that, and then they fled south. There was an extra moment because they fought, like part of the party did a counter attack against the witches and the guardians, the guardian warriors. They killed a few, and the others, just as soon as there was a bit too much resistance, they fled into the woods. This was really a hit and run, put some fire, burn the thing down, and leave. And they fled. And when they fled, then they got Barthos, convinced him, and said, okay, we need to leave right now. And I had Marvelo arrive with the cavalry, and he was blocked by Mikariol. Mikariol was waiting. That's what you see on the line. There's the little white line there and the squiggle. The squiggle is a wall of fire. So he was with his rangers in front of Mikariol. Mikariol was alone on his horse, blocking the path. And they had a little exchange, a little negotiation. He was try to win some time for his friends while the friends were fleeing in the forest with Barto. And then he put the wall of flame in front of him and fled and went to get to the others. So that worked nicely. They just stymied the rangers, and then the rangers, when they got to the Victorious Hawk, that was off screen, but still they arrived at the Victorious Hawk. There was an attack. The place was on fire. Of course, they started to go inside, look for Barto, and then they started helping to put out the fire. So that gave a lot of time for my players. And they walked into the woods all the way to the Magoma River. And their plan is to, because I said that there was some mud flats, just show you the, you know, in the, where the logo, the token is, I'll just move the token a bit. You see that there's some mud flats and some islands there. So I just told them that the Magoma River, when it comes into the lake, it widens and becomes really swampy and not that, like, pretty shallow. And so there are some barbarians that use like just rafts to go in there and fish for all kinds of stuff, you know, and hunt. And so they said, okay, we'll go there and try to find some of those barbarians to get us across, and then we'll go to Jakar, get a boat, and cross the Volgoma to go get a Zarek witch to help them get to Yeferon. So that's where we're at right now. I'll just do a big slurp before we let's slurp. Last thing, I know it's been a long time already, but last thing I want to talk about is just quick overview of what I'm using right now for my notes. I'll do more later. And before I do that, I would like to just get your attention, because I do not have a Patreon. I'm not, you know, I'm not a regular. I'm just doing this on the side for fun for the moment. Maybe in the future I'd like to be like a serious game designer or writer, like in my olden days. But right now it's just for fun, and I like to share with all of you because first it can be useful, especially to GMs that are maybe more beginners or starting, or GMs that are just getting into Symbaroum and are finding that it's quite dense and quite hard to manage. And I agree. I do agree. So anyhow, I want to share with you guys, but it really helps me out and encourages me to do more when people chip in. So that's why I'm showing you this. This is an adventure I wrote for Symbaroum. It's called Playing with Goblins. There's a second part that I haven't written yet, and that's I'm supposed to be writing for the last 3 years. But this adventure is a standalone adventure, and it's really good in itself, I believe. I mean, the guys from Effect Podcast said so it must be true. And even if you don't want to use it, I don't have a Patreon. Like, if you want to chip in and give me a bit of money, this is the way to do it. So I'll put the link in the description, of course, as I always do. So you just go on there and you can buy it. And if you've already bought it and you want to give more, then there's a pay what you want for the new the stat blocks, the modified stat blocks. So you can give some money that way. So that's really appreciated if you do so. Of course, commenting and sharing this video is also a super way to get it to be seen. So that's for the shameless plug. Now let's move to the last phase of this video that I'll try to keep quicker. It will be this here. So this is what I use as a tool for my prep, and I'd say it's you know, some people use Obsidian, or there's a World Anvil and stuff like that that exists to sort of have all your wiki about your campaign somewhere, and some people are really good at those with those tools. I'm an artist. I'm a creative. I really hate pop-up boxes. I hate lists that I have to fill in. I thought that those things, Obsidian I do not know about, but World Anvil had too much, like you want to create a city and then there's this pop-up window where you need to decide what's the population, what's this and that, and leaving everything empty feels weird. So you start filling in stuff just to fill stuff, and it's totally useless, and it's like a major waste of time. I can describe this city better using 3 sentences that describe its geography, its power structure, and and then it's population and customs, like just generally, just to give an idea. And I with these 3 sentences, I can have a really clear image in my mind of what this city is all about. And maybe a little squiggle, like a map, you know, like a little really simple map. That's all you need. And having articles after articles, you don't have time to look up stuff when you run a game. So you do want to have some notes, because it's useful when you go back to your for consistency and to make sure that everything stays consistent throughout. It's good to have these archives that you can go back to, of course, but the level of detail of these archives has to be like directly tied to the adventure you're running. You don't need thousands of pages about places on the continent that you'll never go to. Just paragraphs, and ideally paragraphs that you can open up to something more. But let's go back to this tool. Okay, this tool is called Heptabase. It's not free. It's not. So I know that's a no-no for a lot of people, and I agree. I decided to chip in for 2 reasons. First, it's a team of it's some young guys from Taipei in Taiwan that are programming this. They're super nice, and I tried Notion capacities. I tried a few things like that, and every time it wasn't free form enough for me. So when I found this, it's super flexible, I'll talk more in detail some other time about this, but the idea is just a tool that you can write in with hyperlinkage and stuff all over the place. So for example, what I like about this tool is that this is my session note. Let's zoom here. Okay, so it's in French, but so I've got my session note. I can have a template. I'll show you the template later. But when I create, like in this case, I don't have that many links, but you can note that I have here view source. And what's that? I can open up like this, but I can open it on the side too. Okay, so on the side, I'll just close these. This is a sidebar that you can put anything in there. Okay, I'll just close all of these because I want it clean right now. So this sidebar will have some info. So for example, if I click on this with alternate, it opens on this side. So if I have in my session notes, if I have names of characters and I have created, it's called cards. So it's like atom notes, cards, mini documents. So if I have 1 per character, I can click it and open it on this side, and I can close these. And of course, there's a find feature that I can search. There's backlinks and all that stuff, all that good stuff. So what I want when I run the game is I want to keep things really direct and simple, and I'm trying desperately to find the best tool for that. And I at first, when I did these videos, I was going back to paper, which is great when you're doing small things or things that you're completely homebrewing and that there's no book to reference. You know, it's all in your head. You can keep it all in your notebook, and like Runehammer does, you know, like really nice work, and it works. You'll just move along as you create your adventure. But when you're doing a campaign like this, which is pre-printed and you have huge amounts of PDFs and books, and you know how much info is spread out over these books in this game, then it becomes really complex to just, you know, I won't recopy stuff by hand in my little notebook all the time. It takes hours to do that. So I won't do that. So I needed another tool, and this tool has this powerful thing where you can, like, this is a part of a text that I took in a PDF, like in the Karvosti PDF. So I put the PDFs on the system, and so if, for example, I go with Karvosti, I have the PDF right here. So let's say I just want to, I'll open up a bit more. Let's say I need this, okay, when asked. So I can take this tool and select. So you don't see my arrow, but you see what I'm doing. So I've just selected a paragraph. When I click on it, this opens. I can copy the content. I bring it, I'll just put it here, who cares, like here, okay. So you can see on the left in the page, I'm adding spaces there, and now I'm going to paste it, and it pastes the text from the book, but it has a link. So if I click on the link, like if I close the PDF and I click on this link, it opens up on the right. And if I want to see the original, I can go here and locate highlight, it goes in the book. So you can see, for all the GMs of Symbaroum out there, you can see how powerful this is for us. Because the other thing that's powerful is that I can just have snippets of PDFs, as you see on the upper left. So that's what I do, is I use another tool. If I'm in the PDF, I can use the tool with a little square, the blue square, and I can just select part of the PDF. And then when I copy this and bring it over, it's the actual text. It's like a part of the print, and I can zoom it as I want. And if I want to go to the original, I can still, I can view source here. And there's other ways anyways. So you can see that the fact that I can take bits out of the books and centralize them on a text like this, and I can even, of course, I can put them here and then modify the content of this text. It's just, I can add stuff, I can remove stuff, I can highlight stuff, I can do what I want with the text from the books in my new document. Of course, you could do the same thing with a copy paste from Word, but you might not be able to right click and have the source PDF open on the right instantly. So it's just convenience for me. And I will immediately delete this because I do not want to keep these. So that's for one thing. That's why I started using this tool. So this is my session note. If I move out, you can see that here I just put the map and all the locations. And when I click on the location, like Salvia's Keborog, I open it on the sidebar, and I have like my notes about it that are some stuff that I took from the book, some stuff that I wrote myself. Have the menu here that I took from the book. So will I do that every time? I don't necessarily have time to do that every time. But for places like Thistlehold and for places like Karvosti, where I know they'll come a few times, there'll be a lot of stuff going on, it was useful, like well-used time to do this. And I have the clipping here of the prices, of the accommodation. So, and I didn't find my perfect method with this tool yet, okay? The rumors, stuff like that. So I'll show you another thing, because now I created this here. These are called whiteboards. So in a whiteboard, you can have tons of cards and other whiteboards. So this is my template for the session. So the next session, I'll do a prep video, at least once. I don't promise I'll do every prep video, because, you know, it becomes redundant at some point. But the idea is that I always want to prep for 1 hour for 4 hours of play. So typically for one session, I try to sit down and just fill in this card here that you see, that I will show you in a sec. Okay, so this I've got the date at the top. I've got the overture, so the first thing I will read to my players when we start. So the yellow part, texte à lire à voix haute, that's the part where I'll write something that I'll read. Then description is just freestyle notes about that scene, and then some points, like important points that I have to not forget about. And of course, I can put NPCs there. So if I have an NPC, I can do this, for example. If I have Marvello, I don't have his, oh yes, there it is. Okay, so I just created a link like in other Notion type apps. So I have my NPC there, and if I click on that, I can have just a middle pop-up. I don't need to have it on the side. I can just pop it up. And as I said, I'm not completely, like, what I want to see when I pop it up is the portrait, the description of what he looks like the minimal stuff. And then I can have his stat block, and I have, you know, the different abilities just reduced as much as possible. I'm not sure I'm going to keep doing that because that's very long to do, and as now we play more with paper, I think I don't know, at least not the abilities. I'll probably use the cards. I have the cards, so I can use the cards, and we'll see. But the idea is that to have everything as available as possible from this main note. So the main note for the session will have links to the NPCs and the locations. And for example, if I have a location like the sun, I need to do this first. The Sun Church, no, Sun Temple. Voila, Sun Temple in Karvosti. So when I click on that, right now that's just stuff I copied from the books. Okay. I would prefer to. You've got some characters here. I would prefer to have the title of the place, and right under it 3 lines or 4 lines that I could read out loud to describe the place. Because if I'm clicking on a thing when I'm GMing, usually it's because they're arriving there, and maybe it's because they're asking somebody about it and they want to learn something about it. But in the case that they're arriving there, I'm describing, you know, okay, you walk down the main street and you arrive at, and so I have to be able to jump in a description right away. So that's why I think that's the first thing that you need to have on all these cards. It's just, even the NPCs, what do you see? What's in front of you? And then you have the history, the secrets, the motivations, all this stuff. But so now, as you see, I'm sort of creating my method with this tool, and I took some notes. I think I put them in. Where did I put that? I don't remember, but I started trying to have a logical system for using Heptabase, and there it is. And so what I decided is I have cards for NPCs. So I have some PNG NPCs, locations, cards for those. So when I do my session prep note, every time there's a location or an NPC, I have a link and it pops up to something. So if it's a location, it'll have also the map in the location that I can also put in a drop down, so I can show it or not, and I can put art in there, show it or not, same thing. And then I have my session prep main cards that you just saw. PC related notes. I'll have 1 note per PC for their arcs, and just notes, general notes, like Lodome wrote to her father at this date, so the father will answer at some point. Stuff like that I need to keep track of. And then for lore, that's for Symbaroum, it's really useful to gather lore at the same place because it's so spread out. So what I'm going to do is that I've already started created some cards, like one card per faction, one card per clan, one card per elder race, one card for magic, like traditions and stuff like that. The cards are mostly empty to start with because, as I said, I'm not creating stuff that I won't use. But it's just that as soon as I have an idea about a subject, the card is there. I just open it up, I write whatever I thought, and I close it. And I know it's there. So the history, same thing, history of Symbar and everything. And the added bonus that I have for these things, for the lore stuff, so this is more the part of archives that I was speaking before. Not stuff that I'll look up in a session right away, or maybe I will, but I'll ask for a break. I'll say to my players, okay, I need to check up a few things because I forgot about those. Let's take a break, 5-minute break, and then we come back. So it can be a bit more dense and could be more, more like a book. But the idea is to have everything in the same place and have it easier to reference than the books, because the books are super hard to reference because they're just written like novels. So the advantage that I have with Heptabase is for each topic I can create a whiteboard. And so if you go back here, like Yéferon whiteboard, so if we check this, so you see that I have an overview here. I have the map. I have some links here. So if they find Elayel in Eferia in this place, I can click on that. And I have some information about what happens if they get there. That's all pulled from the books. And I can also have like atom notes, for example, about all the Dakotnik stuff and the Church of Aman stuff and who's who, and so you can create links between everything. You can sort of spread out your cards and give it a logic and add some notes. You can add some notes that aren't cards. So you see the kind of work you can do there. I know some other applications do the same thing. I was just, after trying Notion and then Capacities, I found this, it worked fine for me. I really loved it. It has a journal, it has tasks, it has stuff that I need. And I said, okay, I just can't keep on trying apps, and I just want to get to work. Come on, let's. So I just decided, okay, I'm going with this one, and I don't need to know about the rest. We'll see in 10 years maybe, but not now. So that's why right now I'm using this, and I'm using this, of course, for all sorts of other things in my life, not just for games. So that justifies the price. But yeah, tell me in the comments what you think of the way I prep, the way the potential of this method. I will make a video about like my next prep. I will do the live 1 hour video as I write in there, and you can see how things flow and if it's something that you like. I'm sure there's some cheaper options out there where you can hyperlink text and have something that has a pretty much the same effect as this system. But yeah, I'm really curious to know how you deal with this campaign, with this game. I always run printed material. I see a lot of information online about how to create your own world, how to homebrew stuff, and not that much information about how do you manage running printed campaigns. And printed campaigns are always filled with things that you need to adapt, and even sometimes like flaws, things that you don't like about the story. So how do you deal with that? What tools you use? That's always interesting for me. And you see, as I end this video, I just want to say that I thank you to the designers of all these campaigns. I really like having an authorial voice that is not myself writing something that I can get inspiration from and bounce off of. Creating everything from scratch for me is too much work. When I do that, I'm doing a film or I'm doing some other project, because it's a lot of work. if you want to create from scratch some world, like complex worlds like this one, you should do it with the idea of printing it and selling it, because it's so much work. It's really, but I know some people, it's a hobby for them and they love it, and it's their main hobby and they have time for that, and that's great. But for me, and I guess for a lot of us, we don't have that much time, and we like deep settings and we like rich settings, but we don't have the time to do our own. So we need to have nice, efficient ways of using printed material for our games. So there, I'm curious to see how you do it. Thank you for, I don't know how many of you will have gone to this length and watched till the end, but a special thanks to you. Really thank you. And I'll see you in the next one. And I might do one of these. Actually, you could tell me. I would like to do these by streaming live and having some interaction. Not always, but sometimes I would like. So if some live stream that would look like this is some of interest for you, please tell me in the comments. So thanks a lot. Keep it light, keep it bright, have fun at your game, at your table, and let's inject some good vibes in this world. Thank you. Bye-bye.